and it is my honor today to get to interview Kristi Yamaguchi about her books, and we may talk a little bit about skating too, since Poppy skates.
Absolutely.
Kristi Yamaguchi is the 1992 Olympic champion in ladies singles. She also won 2 World Figure Skating Championships in 1991 and 1992, and a U.S. Figure Skating Championship in 1992 as well. In December 2005, she was inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame. In 2008, Kristi became the celebrity champion in the 6th season of Dancing with the Stars. Now Kristi has turned her attention to early childhood literacy and improving access to books and technology for children in low-income families. Kristi's Always Dream Foundation is focused on supporting early childhood literacy organizations, as well as developing its own literacy program. 100% of Kristi's profits from her forthcoming children's picture book, It's a Big World, Little Pig, will go to benefit early literacy programs supported by the Always Dream Foundation. Her first children's book, Dream Big, Little Pig, was a New York Times bestseller. In this fall's follow-up, It's a Big World, Little Pig, Poppy returns to the ice where she finds new adventure awaiting at the World Games Ice Skating Championship in Paris. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask a few questions of Kristi, and then when we have about 15 minutes left, I'm going to turn it over to all of you to ask any questions you might have. So, Kristi,
Yes.
Can you tell us what skating has taught you about writing?
I think, there are a lot of similarities in that in skating you have to prepare, you have to have a plan, and, that same process, I think, went into writing the children's book too. Of course, there was a desire to do it, but, I just didn't sit down and start writing or, coming up with an idea, a concept, and then, planning where it went from there. So, I think having a goal and finding ways to reach each of those goals helped me with the writing as well.
So there's a lot of preparation involved and then fine-tuning.
Definitely. I think, being an athlete, you're not going to have immediate results. You have to be prepared to make adjustments, make changes, take, instruction, in this case from my editor, and, be flexible with changes and everything. So, I think athletes are used to being coached and being told what to do or, how to improve. So I think all of that, definitely helps in all areas of life, including, being an author.
What inspired you to start writing for children? Was it the process of beginning your Always Dream Foundation and your interest in children's welfare, or have you always wanted to write a children's book?
I think in some ways, working with children so much for most of my professional career, I thought it would be fun to always do a children's book, something for them. And I think the biggest motivation was becoming a mom myself and reading, night after night their favorite books to them over and over and over again. And, I realized how important that time was for them and for us as a family, and thought, it'd be nice for them to have mom write a book for them and for them to be involved with the process. And, it was just good timing all around. So my children were very involved with the writing of the first book and, my test audience and everything for both books. So, it was kind of a good family affair.
Were they good coaches?
They were very good coaches. I do have to say, especially with It's a Big World, Little Pig, my older daughter, who was going into 2nd grade, they're talking all about writing and everything, and she's like, Mom, you got to use more descriptive words, and, maybe the story should say this. So she had a lot of good suggestions, and I took it to heart because, she's my audience. So, it's always good to have that feedback right away.
And they definitely tell you exactly what they think.
Oh, yeah, they're very honest, and, they're to the point now where I try to pull it off the shelf at night to read to them. They're like, no, we're tired of that story. We know what happens already. I'm like, I know, but you don't want to hear it at all? No, no, no. It's got to be someone else.
That's great. Did you, like Poppy, the star of Dream Big Little Pig, and your new title, It's a Big World, Little Pig, did you try a few things before you found what you really loved, or did you always have kind of a yearning to skate?
No, very much like Poppy. I tried different things, and I think it was great. My parents did expose my brother and sister and I to many activities so we can kind of find our own path. And interestingly enough, they never put me into ice skating. They let my sister try it. And I tried dance and baton twirling, cheerleading, soccer, and it was just like, no, I have a stomach ache. I can't go to practice. I made every excuse in the world, but when it came to skating, they finally let me try it when I was 6, and it was just like love at first sight. I just wanted to go back, and I wanted to take the rental skates home with me because I thought they were mine. Yeah, they didn't know what they were getting into, but it was definitely something that they introduced me to, and I took off with it.
And did your sister stay with skating?
No, I mean, literally my sister skated for about a couple months, and that was it for her. But, being my older sister, I wanted to, do what she did. Like, she skated, like, I want to try it too. But, and again, like Poppy, it took a while to find that passion, but once I found skating, it was like, okay, that's it. Even though it's tough and there's going to be challenges and, it's not going to be an easy road, I'm willing to, take on those challenges because, it was just something I love to do.
And we should mention that you live in California, so it's not always easy to find an ice rink, but you found one.
Definitely found one. It was in a mall, but it was still skatable ice.
And was your family as encouraging as Poppy's family is for her about your pursuit of skating?
My family, luckily, again, they didn't know much about skating, so it was probably better for them. They're just like, oh, it's something she likes to do. I was very shy as a child, and I think they found that skating was a good outlet for me, that I actually, opened up and kind of lit up when I was on the ice. They knew it was an activity that was helping me, so they were very encouraging. I think they didn't know it was going to end up being 4 a.m. mornings, 6 days a week, my mom traveling with my dad, taking care of my brother and sister while my mom and I were off at competitions. But, they took it with stride, and I think as long as they saw me putting 100% into it and, doing my best, that they were okay with it.
So did you start the traveling pretty early on for competitions?
No, not early on. I mean, everything kind of snowballed. It started out with local competitions at 6, 7, 8 years old, and then probably was junior high age when I started to compete throughout California, and then finally making it to the U.S. Nationals when I was about 14. So it was gradual, so you kind of get sucked in slowly.
Because Poppy actually does, that's very much a part of this new book, that Poppy has to imagine being away from family, right, and the support system, and I wondered if that were something that you had to deal with yourself when you started to travel.
Definitely. I think, the most anxious you get is just, being in a new place and meeting new skaters and being just in a different environment than you're used to. So, those are all the kind of things that Poppy was anxious about when she was going out on her first international trip, and whether she was going to make new friends or not. But, a lot of it, some of the experiences were taken from my first international trip, which was to Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, back in 1985. So that was quite an experience, eye-opening, and meeting so many skaters and kids from other countries. Back then, Eastern Bloc countries where things were so different, and they were, it was exciting to see how thrilled they were to meet Americans and to learn English and to teach you words in their language. And I think at 14, it was so impressionable that I was like, and I made lifelong friendships at that point. So I thought it was a really good lesson to learn early on that, wow, we're so different in a lot of ways, but yet we all love skating. We had a common bond because we loved the sport, and that brought us together. So, it was a good lesson, and I thought it would be nice to kind of turn into a story for kids.
Well, and you have that wonderful message about how the smile sort of transcends language, that when one child smiled at another, in this case, kangaroo and
Right.
pig, but when they could smile, that really kind of broke the ice. They could
Yeah.
share a sandwich and other.
Right. No,
experiences.
absolutely. I mean, I think if you see a friendly face, someone that's open to a new friendship, it definitely makes things a lot easier. So, yeah, that was kind of a fun thing to add into the story.
And at least for me, as a spectator of the Olympics, it seems like competition is not always so friendly. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm sure, tension between the top competitors and so on. But there's a lovely message with Poppy, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the book, it is competition, and she's there to meet new people and different competitors. In this case, there's competitors from different sports as well. But, a lot of kids, when I go to schools, ask, well, did Poppy win? Like, she competed, but did she win the gold medal? And, I try to tell them, well, yeah, it's competition, but, we don't know if she won. Like, she might have or she might not have, but the important thing is she went out there and she skated with her heart, and she tried her best, and she respected her other competitors, and really that's what competition is, and those are some Olympic values that you learn when you represent your country. It's not just about winning, it's about representing your country, and it's about holding up those sportsmanship ideals and everything. So I think that's kind of a subtle message that I wanted in the book, was like, you don't know if she wins. I mean, I didn't want her to win. It was more about the experience.
It's so interesting. I didn't even think about that. Isn't that funny? I mean, I read the book and I thought, oh, she's pursued her dream, and this is so great, and she's gotten over her fear of traveling. And it never even occurred to me, I wonder if she won or not.
Yeah, well, I think kids think, they identify with trophies and medals and things. So, I was just trying to play that side of it down a little more.
It's really interesting that they asked that question. It makes a lot of sense. And I wondered if you had any advice for those children who haven't had the support that Poppy's had. I mean, you've done so much with your foundation in terms of reaching out to children in underprivileged communities. I wonder if you have any advice for those children.
Well, I think, some of the organizations that we've reached out to and everything, yeah, the kids have had really tough, times. They haven't had time to dream or, the opportunity. They're just trying to get through their daily life. So, really it's just about inspiring them in some way. Just letting them know it's okay to dream. It's okay to, expect something of yourself and to go for it. I think it's, it starts within them. It's if they can believe in themselves and have something positive to think about, then anything is possible. But it's hard. It's tough, and that's what inspired me to start Always Dream. The foundation was to let kids know that someone out there is thinking of them. That if we can help in any way possible, we'll try to do it. But I think it's trying to give them the confidence that they can dream, first of all.
That's wonderful to do that. And we talked about this a little bit already, but my favorite line in the book is when Poppy says, it's actually Emma who says it to Poppy.
Yes, her best
and
friend.
she says, "It's a big world, little pig, but remember that everyone smiles in the same language." And it just seemed like such a great send-off for Poppy's dear friend to tell her as she goes off on her journey.
Yeah, I think it's, just so simple. But, being someone who's very shy, I remember whenever I was nervous, I would just kind of smile. My very first press conference, I think when I was 17, I remember the publicist was like, "You were horrible. Like, all you did was giggle and laugh and smile through the whole press conference," because I didn't have anything to say. But, I think at the same time, when you are meeting your peers, it's just, it opens the door. It, says, okay, I'm open to talk to you or just, see who you are. And, for kids, it's just a simple message, whether you're going to a new school or into a new situation. It's one way to try to open yourself up to those new experiences, I guess.
That's a great message. And in both books, Poppy has to work through her fears. In Big World, she shares with Zoe, the Australian speed skater, how she overcomes her fears. And I wondered how you worked through your fears, or did work through them when you were competing.
Yeah, there was nervousness, before every competition, especially right before I went out to perform. So I think the biggest thing was just always trying to think positive, because as an athlete, I think all the negative, it's easy to let that in, like, oh, you're gonna fall, or don't miss this jump, so-and-so, has a harder routine. It's easy to let all the negative things come into your mind, but I think what I tried to do is push the negative out and just think about the positive things, like how did I want to skate, and think of the things my coach would tell me, like skate fast, bend your knees, remember to keep your arms up, and take one thing at a time, and breathe. That's always important. It's like, don't hold your breath, breathe. So it was always just trying to keep positive, like it was like walking on eggshells sometimes, especially the day of a competition. I had to brush my hair just right. If it came out wrong, it was like, okay, I have to do it over again, because everything has to be just right. But I think overcoming your fears is just knowing that you've prepared. I think it's telling yourself, okay, I've worked hard, the work is done, I've done all I can, there's no regrets. Whatever happens out there was meant to be. I think you can skate your best and not get the marks you want from the judges, but you have to be satisfied and happy with the way you performed, and you have to learn how to accept that. Or you can skate not so well, and no, next time, okay, I need to go home and I need to work on that, but it's a lesson learned. Next time I have to be a little more prepared, or whatever. So it's tough, I think, as a young athlete, or anyone who's experiencing a challenge. But I was lucky to have that support system to kind of guide me, to the positive side of it, I guess.
It's just amazing to me, because I skated briefly and I got to maybe shoot the duck. But I could never,
that's pretty good.
I could never do a spiral like you did, or I never lifted off the ground. So I just am so admiring of the work you put into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You also put some really fun jokes into the book. Like one of my favorites was that Poppy and Gianna, an Italian skier, goes by the name Puccini.
Oh, yeah.
With P-O-O-C-H-I-N-I. And then there's a pig star in the painting of the Mona Lisa.
Right.
So I wondered if you enjoyed putting some of those little jokes in there for the adults who are reading along with their child.
Yes, definitely. I was like, I wasn't sure if any kids would get the Puccini thing. But I think it's fun to have those things in there, and other pig references throughout the book as well. But it's fun to just put little things in there, and you kind of wonder, are people going to notice? Are they going to appreciate it? But Puccini was one of my favorite composers to skate to, and I loved Italy, so I knew I wanted Italy represented in the book. So it just kind of found a way to work him in there. So that was kind of fun.
It was fun reading it too.
Thank you.
I wondered if you got to ever meet Tim Bowers, or you probably have by now, but did you get to give him any direction when it came to illustrating?
Actually, I've never met Tim Bowers.
I haven't met him.
No, he's the illustrator for both books. But we work closely together via email, via our art director, and I think I'm very lucky as a children's author to have had just a very good rapport with the artists. And I think he turned in initial samples of Poppy, and it was just amazing. It was like, there she is. You know, it was so exciting because you have the manuscript and you envision it for so long, and then all of a sudden she was there. And you know, he did just an amazing job with her expression and bringing her to life that, you know, I was totally fine with it. I knew it was going to be fine. And he was very open to a lot of suggestions, especially with the second book. I got to kind of direct what some of the main characters are wearing, and because it's very country oriented, you know, the style of the clothes. I was kind of more into the fashion part of it, I guess. You know, the Poppy's costumes. You know, I was like, oh, it needs a little more sparkle and a little more flash to it. So little things here and there, and the skating moves as well. I submitted photos of specific poses or inspirations that I wanted. One of them was actually a picture of Evgeny Plashenko, who's an Olympic champion. He was doing a specific move that I'm like, okay, this would look great for Poppy to do, and it turned out awesome. So yeah, it was nice to work with Tim. I've been lucky. Yeah.
That's great, because I would imagine it would be hard to get those poses down if you weren't a skater yourself. For Tim, I mean. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, even in skating, it's hard to get a good photograph of a skater anyway because they're moving so fast. So, you know, I just kind of really searched the internet, and I knew there were specific skaters who I liked, you know, their style and everything. So yeah, I mean, being able to submit those and give Tim a better idea of the look and some dynamic moves that'll come to life on the page were fun.
Well, and costumes are important, right? I mean, when you're skating, that's a lot of carrying off the sequence and.
Yes, absolutely. You know, costumes and skating. I mean, it's really the whole package. A lot of times you want it to fit the theme of the music, so you're kind of in character, although you can't be too theatrical in competition. But yeah, I mean, the costume finishes the look, and you're being judged. It's very subjective, so. Even though, you know, you hope it doesn't affect the score that much, if it's really awful, it can.
Getting a little feedback, I think. I wondered, Kristi, if you could talk a little bit about what surprised you most about the publishing process. You probably had some ideas about what it would be like when you first submitted your book, and then.
Honestly, I didn't have an idea at all. You know, I thought, oh, it's a great story. You know, it just gets made into a book. So, you know, it's been an incredible learning process for me, and to see where the manuscript goes, and then working with an editor, and then seeing, you know, it being broken down to the pages, to the specific illustrations and what goes where, you know, and then also going in to Sourcebooks and meeting all the people who took part of the book coming together. You know, you just don't realize how many people have their hands on it and are taking care of this, taking care of that, and so it was fascinating. You know, I think I really developed an appreciation for, you know, for one little children's book, what goes into that. And, you know, I think you have to be thankful for that, because it's so important for our children to have these tools, these things that will help them develop a love of reading, a love of books, so that in life they'll continue to read and learn. But yeah, I mean, to appreciate all the little things that go into it was eye-opening for sure.
And did you know that you wanted to do a second book from the beginning, or did that evolve after you did the first story?
Pretty much evolved. You know, I think the first book, I just didn't know what to expect. I was very excited about it, and you know, it was definitely labor of love. And, you know, Poppy just, you know, she feels like a family member now. So I just didn't know what to expect, and was, you know, obviously pleasantly surprised to see how it was received. And you know, it was fun to take it around to schools and introduce it to the children, and to see their expressions, and you know, learn to like Poppy as well. So I think after seeing that, it inspired me to do a second book.
We hope we'll see more too. Are you working on one now?
Ideas, concepts, yeah, for a third, but we'll see. You know, I'm not quite sure what direction it's going in. Maybe a new character, so we'll see.
And I wondered also why, what prompted you to start the Always Dream Foundation and why children would be the beneficiaries?
Absolutely. The Always Dream Foundation I established about 16 years ago now. Wow. And really, I was inspired by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I had worked with them closely on the tour I was skating on. We worked with a lot of the families, met a lot of the children. And I think that opened my eyes up to the need out there and what we can really do as skaters, as athletes. So I decided to establish a foundation on my own, one that was dedicated to children but helped various needs that they would have, you know, really just embrace the hopes and dreams of children. That was our main motto. So we did that for, you know, 15 solid years. We're, you know, proud as a small foundation that we were able to stay alive this long. And now that I'm off the road from skating, I feel I have more time to dedicate to the foundation, and we really wanted to focus our cause and looked into education and really decided on early childhood literacy because, you know, obviously all of you probably know that, I mean, if you don't have the skills and the love of books early on, then your chance at success at life in general, not just school, is very slim. So we're hoping to, you know, make an impact with the children, especially those in underserved areas that don't have access to books as readily available, who don't have, you know, libraries even in their own neighborhoods, to try to get them exposed to books, to reading, not just at school but at home as well. So, you know, we're excited. We're launching 2 reading programs, fall of 2012, this new school year, and, you know, hoping to make our difference there. We'll see.
What's involved in that, Kristi?
In the programs?
Yes,
Or
in the program.
well, one of the reading programs, we're actually partnering with an organization called Raising a Reader. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they have a book bag program, which is very parent and not only teacher engagement, but parent engagement as well at home. So it really encourages families to read at home. The kids take these book bags home every week with 5 books in them, and you know, they encourage the parents to sit down and read with the children. You know, a lot of them are English learners, so even if it's just looking at the pictures and just, you know, deciphering the story, or, you know, just to get that going at home. And so we're partnering with them, and we're adding the digital technology to their program and bringing in tablets for the classrooms that have corresponding book titles for the books that are already in rotation. So we're hoping to, you know, not only continue to encourage the reading at home with the parents, but also introduce the kids to the technology that, you know, is kind of going towards these days. And then we also have a second program, which is more of a software program, a language arts software program called Footsteps to Brilliance, and it really encourages reading comprehension and vocabulary in the classroom. So it would be incorporated into the curriculum within the classroom.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks.
I hope that's really successful.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
And one of the other things I mentioned to you just when we were talking before is that I watched the YouTube video of your Dancing with the Stars, and one of the things that surprised me is that you had a kind of handicap when you were born in terms of your feet and your ability to be flexible, and I wondered how you overcame that.
Well, I think I was lucky early on that my parents just corrected it. I mean, I was literally, I think, several weeks old, and I was put into casts. Both legs were put into casts for like the first 18 months. You know, every few weeks I'd have to get them changed because they're growing so much. You know, I was just very turned in. My legs were like folded up when I was born. So they had to straighten my legs out, and then I wore corrective shoes with a brace in between for like a year or so as well. I remember trying to learn how to walk with this like bar in between my feet. But it was, you know, I think I was lucky that they took the challenge on and corrected it early on, and the skating and dancing, I think, just helped with coordination and strength with my legs. And, you know, she asked the pediatrician when I wanted to skate, oh, is this going to be okay for her? And he said, absolutely, you know, whatever activity she wants to do, it'll just help, you know, with the development of her muscles and everything even more. So, you know, I think I was just so young, I didn't know any better. But, you know, it was probably a good lesson early on to learn that just you do what you can.
Well, and it really fits in with Poppy's, you know, dream to be a skater, and her work and her perseverance and her drive, really. I mean, it's a beautiful lesson for kids to learn that you came through that and pursued your dream.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we could open it up to the audience now. Do any of you have questions for Kristi? Yes. The question is, the book packs that circulate, you mean through Raising a Reader? That, is that through libraries? Or
Oh, okay.
How does that work?
It is, no, the Raising a Reader, they're done through that organization. So it's a program and an organization that does the distribution. So they will come into the schools and train the teachers, who then train the not train the parents, but kind of work with the parents on the program. So you could probably look it up on their website or something if you're interested. Yeah. Yep.
Yes. The question is, who were your great literary influences?
Oh, oh, good question. I wouldn't say I'm such a literary person, being athlete and more celebrity author. But, you know, growing up, I think some of my favorites were, starting from children, I'll start there. Dr. Seuss was like, you know, one of my favorite kid authors. E.B. White, Charlotte's Web was a favorite growing up, and people always ask, why Poppy the pig? But I've always been a pig lover and born year of the pig, so you know, Charlotte's Web was just a natural story for me to like. Let me think of other inspiration. Other celebrity writers, actually, Jamie Lee Curtis, my kids love her books, and I think they've always had a good message to them, or a good lesson to learn. So I think seeing her books and the way she wrote them, you know, or the influence that the book can have on a kid was definitely an inspiration for me to also have some type of positive message in my book.
It's interesting, too, because Wilbur in Charlotte's Web also overcomes great difficulties.
Yes. Well, pigs tend to have the tendency to have face challenges. You know, I mean, you don't picture a pig being very graceful and agile, but I thought it would be, you know, a good challenge for her to prove everyone wrong. Oh.
Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Like, what came first? Yeah. You know, I think the idea was always at the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, someday if I have time, I would love to do a children's book. And so, you know, it was always at the back of my mind. The idea, I think it all kind of came together because when I started seriously thinking about it, the concept was there just right away. I mean, it was, I'd always had the motto, always dream. It's the name of my foundation. It's been something I would sign my name with, as a motivational or message. So I knew it was going to be about dreaming and having a dream, never giving up on your dreams. So that concept just kind of was a natural fit for the book, and so it kind of grew from there, I guess.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, well, I can tell you that Kristi will be signing books at the Sourcebooks booth, which is booth number, Liz, help me, 4112 at 1:30. So please come by and get your book signed. And thank you all for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.